What's going on, guys? We are back here in Afterpulse, and today we got a review for the new T99 classic weapon LMG series. So we got automatic classic weapon, classic LMG equipped with a large magazine capacity and a great damage at long distances. Seems like a pretty standard LMG description. Stopping power. This weapon's bullets will cause targets to slow down. Every LMG has that, whether in the description or not, as far as we can tell. And so we got the portability at 320. That's the same as all other LMGs except for the M349 and M349 Veteran. Damage 1129, a little low. Rate of fire 4080. It does get above 4000 rate of fire. That took place at level 19, 4 stars level 19. You saw range was pretty good, and if you look at the player holding it here, got the little bipod out on front there. Looks pretty cool, even though there's no like crouching or anything in Afterpulse, so useless. But I just want to point out that these classic series weapons are not in the military weapons crate for 4,000 cash. And so I think in my last video I said that they'll probably introduce skin versions of these. You know, I honestly don't think that's the case anymore, unless they're just trying to, you know, force you to spend gold to get them during the sale, and then they'll introduce them. But, you know, introduce them like always, you know, keep them always around. But, you know, since they're not in those crates, you know, honestly, I would, you know, I'm almost treating this like a skin series, like the classic weapons are a skin series. So, you know, if you want them, you might actually want to, you know, spend whatever you got saved up to try and get some, because this might be your only chance, at least for a long time. But who knows? You know, maybe we'll get an answer on that in the forums or somewhere. But something interesting to consider. You know, if they were going to be around forever, you know, at least like the T99, not even you know, the Charlie weapons are obviously only going to be available in gold crates, but even in the 75 gold restricted weapons crate, you know, they're not in there. But, you know, like T99 should be in the military weapons crate if it was going to be around forever, which it's not. So I don't know, something to keep in mind. But obviously we jumped into a training match here, and you know, it feels pretty good. You know, I like this gun. I think it's very comparable to the HMG 24 Alpha, Atom, Nightcrawler, AWD 2016. I firmly believe, in my opinion, at least playing on an iPhone SE, I know some people have said it's different for them on iPad. I still believe that the HMG 24 AWD 2016 is the best addition, just because of that stability boost. It really, really does make a difference. And if you notice here, we're wearing the two-piece beret set, which does give us a 20% boost in stability. So, you know, keep that in mind. If you watch the right directional aiming stick, whatever, you can see how far down I'm pulling back to counteract, you know, this weapon wanting to kick up when you're firing for a long time. So it definitely does kick up a lot, but you can usually get 1, 2, even 3 kills in training without having an issue, without having too much kick. Here's a little sneak preview at the Red 45. Got the 4-star Red 45 Charlie. Actually got a couple 4 stars, so I'll have a review for that guy soon. Just, you know, I'll have a review for all the weapons, to be honest. Just not sure what order or what I'll prioritize. If there's something you want to see first before any others, let me know in the comments below. But for the most part, most of the weapons are pretty much useless. That was a pretty bad training match. I've gotten up to like 40 kills with the T99 in training. But, you know, I'd say like 30, 35 is, you know, a good average number. But like I always say, I would not farm with an LMG. You're wasting your time. You're not being efficient if you're farming with an LMG. Please farm with an assault rifle or a precision class weapon. But I've been over that before, and just my opinion. Obviously, you can stick to whatever you enjoy doing. But we're going to jump into some multiplayer here, see if we can find a ranked TDM match, and see how this guy does in multiplayer. Haven't had it out there yet. I would imagine it's decent. You know, high rate of fire is going to be good for, you know, close quarters fights, things like that. And, you know, it obviously performs well enough at range, as you saw in training. But I touched on earlier, you know, with the new weapon series, you know, most of them aren't worth it. I think the Remy 8, the SMG, not worth it. The Chester 97 Alpha, not worth it. T99 is borderline worth it. I'll get to that in a second. BRWM18, if I got that name right, the Bravo Edition weapon. That's very, very similar to an SMR. It's definitely better than the FAR N, but you know, I'm not sure if it's better or worse, or it could be exactly the same as the SMR. You know, the stats are a little different, and I will have, you know, some more details on that coming up, like a stats video. You know, looking at the wiki pages, once I get more weapons pictures on the wiki and update the wiki and stuff, I'll go over the stats and compare them all to existing guns and see if they're worth building just based on the stats. So if you look at the stats, you know, SMR versus BRW, hopefully I'm saying that name right, you know, stats are very similar, but they are different, but performance-wise, they really feel pretty much the same. You know, at this point, I'm kind of leaning toward BRW being better just because it has extra ammo, which could be really nice just to, you know, shoot for a longer period of time. It really does make a difference with a slow rate of fire. I've mentioned that in some of my FAR N reviews, things like that. But overall, I mean, BRW seems like a very, I don't know if competent is the word, but very competitive gun. You know, it's definitely as good as the SMR, I would say, you know, just generally speaking. So that one could be worth it. And then Red 45, that's going to be a little debatable. You know, it's a Charlie class weapon. It's tough to get Charlie weapons. It's tough to build Charlie weapons. But that one so far, at 4 stars, I got mine up to like level 10. It kind of feels like, you know, it makes the same sound as the MKR3. I think it's the same sound as the PW9. And it kind of feels like a cross between a PW9 and an MKR3. It's really hard to say exactly. I think as you level it up, it gets a scope. But like I've said in past handgun videos, you know, scope is really not worth it. On a handgun, you're like never gonna use it. So that's, you know, just throwing that out there, but completely useless. But overall, you know, I think it's pretty comparable to, I think the 4-star was decently comparable. I think it's worse, but decently comparable than my 6-star PW9 Tiger. So that's pretty interesting. You know, it could be a decent handgun. You know, it is a higher damage, lower rate of fire type of thing going on there. Well, it's got, I don't know, it's got good rate of fire, but it you know, shoots like 1 round at a time. I don't know, hard to explain. Obviously, you know, you saw some of it in training, and I'll have videos on it coming up. But if you played with the MKR3 and the PW9, you know what I'm talking about. It's exactly like those guns. So it could be viable as a handgun secondary. But for the most part, you know, KG18 is probably still going to be your go-to for training and stuff, just for the extra portability. And yeah, I don't know. You're taking a look at the T99 here. Trying to think if I left any out. Yeah, there's the SR MK3, that new precision class weapon. That's also a Charlie edition weapon, Charlie class weapon. So available only 4 stars and higher, no matter what. That one is not worth it, absolutely not worth it. I'll have videos on that guy. I really don't like it at all. It's very similar to the MK, except it shoots a little different. If you get one, you know, just hold down the shoot button and you'll see what I'm talking about. You don't even have a chance to find people in the scope if you're holding down the shoot button. But we'll get to that in a video coming up on that. So SR MK3, not worth it. Let's see, did I leave any out? That was a pretty good match there with the T99. Definitely competitive. Obviously aircraft is a little stupid of a map. You know, you get stuck in that spawn trap. But we're gonna jump into Warehouse here, and you know, decent map for an LMG. This dude, who's this dude? Paul something. This dude is moving so fast, man. I was playing against him and he's just like, I don't know, I think those are the ghost pants, so he's got that portability boost, he's got the lighter in vest, but like, I mean, he's moving so fast. You know, that was pretty crazy playing against him. I don't think I recorded those matches, but you know, he was, I don't know, sketchy. Not you know, not accusing. I think everything's legit there, but you know, he had a 7-star UNKCQB Nightcrawler and a 7-star AGL Autumn, and he was just moving so fast. It was really kind of stupid. I don't know, like, he moves so fast. I've mentioned this before, like, he moves so fast that it doesn't even show up on my screen. Like, it looks like he's teleporting around my screen, but whatever. At least he's on my team this time. So let's see, we're kind of in the enemy spawn here. I have no problem spawn trapping. I know it's kind of a D move, but you know, if your team is strong enough to push the enemy team into a spawn trap, you know, I say take advantage of it, soak it up, do whatever you want to do with it, you know. You know, some people like to spawn trap with an AGL. You know, I never really got into the AGL, never really wanted to build it, don't even have the pieces to build it. I think I have a 5-star, that's the highest I have, with no hopes of evolving as of now or anything like that. But you know, I don't know, is there a difference between spawn camping with an AGL versus spawn camping with a T99 here? I don't know, you can decide that. Obviously some people would frown on what I'm doing here, but I don't really have a problem with it. You know, my team was strong enough to push them down here, and I don't know, you know, they could get out of it. It's not impossible to get out of it. So, you know, I'll soak up these kills, and you know, you can see some close mid-range kills with the T99 here. Definitely kills really quick. You know, remember, this is just a 4-star, maxed out level 25. Ooh, does that guy have LMG protection or what? Took a while to kill him. Is that enemy or friendly? I don't know. I thought that was friendly AGL. If I knew it was enemy, they should show it in like red. I don't know. Do your teammates' AGLs show up? I think they do. But like, I don't know. They should show enemy ones in red so you can get out of the way, or I don't know. I thought that was friendly. If I knew it was enemy, I probably could have got out of the way. There's another good kill there. But let's see, back to these new weapon series. Trying to think if I missed any. Let me look here as you continue to watch the game. I'll try to camp up in this office here. So Chester 97, not worth it. Pretty much same as a Typhoon G12. Remy 18, not worth it. That's a SMG. SR MK3, not worth it. That's a precision class. T99, borderline worth it. That's what I was going to get to in a second here. Then handgun, Red 45, could be worth it, but you're probably, you know, if you want a handgun, KG18, you know, MFX AWD, you know, obviously your Revolver, if you like the Revolver, you know, so that's borderline if it's worth it or not. And then assault rifle, yeah, I talked about that. BRW M18 versus the SMR. And so we'll have videos on all these weapons coming soon, but getting to the LMG, you know, is the T99 worth it? I think it's better than the HMG24 regular edition, regular alpha standard edition. You know, I think it's better than that, just playing with it at 4 stars maxed here and just going off of memory, not really comparing stats or anything like that. Nothing too hardcore. And we're just going to evolve it here if you want to stick around for that. But, you know, like I said, I would say the HMG24 AWD is probably better. The Atom Edition, you know, especially if you're on an iPad, apparently it's better on an iPad. You have more real estate to counteract the recoil. You know, if you have those guns, maybe it's not worth it. Let's see, versus KPK, versus M349, I think it's definitely better. I'll throw that out there. Versus AGK, definitely better. AGK is just a mess of a gun. And then, let's see, and then versus KPK, you know, it's really a tough one. You know, you do have to, if you use the KPK, you really have to get it over that 3,000 rate of fire to make it, you know, a pretty good gun. And I don't know, that really comes up to personal preference in my opinion. but you know, I would put this more similarly, you know, perform similar to the HMG. I think it's better than the regular, maybe worse than skinned HMGs, but it's definitely a valuable LMG. Could be competitive, you know, in ranked and multiplayer, casual, whatever, even LMG events. So something to keep in mind. Hopefully that gave you a good look at the 4-star T99 maxed out, and hopefully you enjoyed the evolve there at the end. That'll do it for this video. I'll be back as soon as possible with more reviews on all of these classic weapons just released in Afterpulse. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss it, and I will catch you on the next video.